Erin Smith, who has survived 7 years or more of therapy with me in group, and is now the head of Active Minds at Cuesta College, which is a mental health club, and is very active in reducing the stigma, and is doing wonderfully.
Okay, I'm a little jittery and nervous. I don't do this every day, though I'm becoming more and more being asked to do this. And can everyone hear me okay? Or can I ditch this altogether?
Yeah.
No.
Okay?
No.
Better with.
No?
No.
Okay, then I'll stick this out. Sitting here in the audience today, I have had many thoughts come to mind as to what I was going to talk about. And I do want to say I'm that sensitive child that's being spoken. I'm going to bounce around a little bit too, because I have a little bit of OCD. I'll hold that right now too. I used to be a professional store manager for upper retail stores for a very long time, and I was married, and I was living a pretty normal life on the outside. But inside, I felt like my life was chaos. And I kept self-destructing because of my self-worth was just not there. And the best, I can't say the best self-destruction, but the thing I was practicing the most during that time of my life when I was involved in my career was I was a shopaholic, which was a way to not feel the true pain that I didn't want to feel. It was very, very present. It took me to go through a divorce, and then after 14 years, and then 2 years later, my entire household after that divorce, I took all the animals with me, and I stayed best friends with my ex-husband. They all passed away in the same year.
Oh.
And that was also in the middle of seeing Matt. And thank goodness it happened then, because I had enough tools under my belt to pull through that. But I'll tell you, my family thought after each death, because it was all 2 months apart, 3 months apart, oh God, here's Erin, she's going to kill herself this time.
Mm.
And I'm also the patient that Matt was speaking of earlier for in the hospital. He was hospitalized 7 times in 1 year, and they said they should put a plaque. That was me. It was a joke. Every time I'd walk in there, I'd go, I'm back to visit again, and it was a way to deflect the failureness that I felt from being there again. And it was multiple reasons. I was 32 years old when I was properly diagnosed. And Matt did do it the way of handing me, then it was the I Hate You, Don't Leave Me book. And he said, I'm not sure, but go read this. So I went to the beach, I sat there, and I read it, and I cried, and then I smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I was relating to something that wasn't just me. And some of it I didn't realize I was doing, and here it is, as if I was reading myself in this book. And I went back to Matt, and I said, I think you're right. And he said, mm-hmm. And I said, are you up for the challenge? And he said, I think so. And life's amazing for me now. I'm going to bounce a little bit more. So I'm Active Minds president out at Cuesta College, which is a national organization changing the conversation about mental health. I'm guest speaking several times on campus for them. I'm working with Slow County Behavioral Health and Transitions recently for guest speaking for them, just because I have other diagnoses as well. I was just recently featured in a mental health video that went to all staff and faculty and students at Cuesta College, trying to change what we have in our mind, what a normal depressed person looks like, or a person with mental illness. Because really it's 1 out of 4 people have a treatable mental health illness, and that's in a year time span, and out of your entire life, it's 2. So if you think about how many people are in this room right now, it's a lot. We are all affected in one way, shape, in one way. So, let me retract for a minute. I think going back to my intense years, which was basically from 2005 to 2008, I was in and out of the hospital regularly. I did suffer from those feelings of emptiness. I was extremely impulsive. I was be in a mood and then I'd be at the bar next, seeing how many drinks I can get in me, and then drinking and driving. And it was never to hurt anyone else. It was a way to hurt me and a way to not feel that intensement. Trust was very scary for me. Self-loathing. You would have never seen me even think a nice comment about myself, or yet alone have a smile on my face. I felt ugly. I would dissociate. Dissociation was talked about earlier. I would be in session, and over time, because I am a very deep thinker, and I do pick up on a lot of things because it was a survival technique when I was a child. There's one beautiful thing that I get to do now, but I would dissociate, and I'd say, hold on, Matt, I'm dissociating, give me a minute. And I'd wait, and I said, okay, I'm back now. And I would still be there present, but I would lose my thought, and I would almost get dizzy, and I would get confused, and so then I'd pull it back down to gravity, and then I'd go, okay, let's go. And I felt defective, that I did wear a mask. I have been depressed as far as being 7 years old. And then after traumatic events after that, when I was 10, I found out that my dad wasn't my real dad. I could not go live with him because of this reasoning. When I left 6th grade, so elementary school, and went into junior high, that was a big shock because I came from 12 little 6th graders into 1,200 kids, and I felt the loss then. And I didn't have a stable support at home. It was abusive physically, mentally, and there was some sexual abuse in our household as well. So that was another loss. But I remember being 7 years old and then hitting junior high, significantly wearing the mask to tell everyone that I was okay, and I took care of everyone else because I was afraid. I didn't want to be known as that kid. Because we all knew someone that was sad or didn't know how to fend for themselves. So I just wanted to be the perfect little kid that everyone's going to embrace and everyone's going to love, and which is actually, I believe, a schema. Is that a schema? Wanting to be accepted and loved and forget that you're wearing yourself so thin.
Self-sacrifice.
Self-sacrifice, thank you. I got into high school and I started self-harming by cutting and burning. I started binge drinking in late high school. My home life was pretty traumatic because, again, I can't live with the dad I thought was my dad. I have to stay at home. Mom and I had our issues. I will say I know my parents did the best they knew how with the tools that they have. I truly understand that. Though for me, it just wasn't working, and I was a sensitive child. So I actually pulled myself out of my mom's house after many years of denying it because we would have DS, social work department, heard that I'd cut myself, and so they show up to see what's going on, and I would lie through my front teeth because even though it was hell in my household, it was still familiar and comfortable than going off to some place that I didn't know. Well, finally, I found up enough courage, and I put myself in the runaway shelter. Back then it was known as Transitions Runaway Shelter, and I was there for 6 months waiting for, I had some very big, awesome adults working for me, waiting for a group foster home to open up in Atascadero, which is where I was originally from, so I can go graduate with my twin sister. It didn't happen because I was too far behind in school. I was so busy trying to survive and just get through my daily thought processes of feeling so depressed that school was the farthest thing. The farthest thing. So, what else did I go through? Then I get married. That was a rocky relationship, even though it was the only one I knew at that time because I felt like no one else could love me the way he did. So I settled for a lot of abuse physically. Not physically, excuse me, mentally. We lasted about, I guess it was 7 years married, and we stayed best friends for 14, and then as I said, he passed away. And we were close when he passed away, so that was another loss for me. I kept seeing Matt. I kept showing back up. I kept doing what I needed to be doing. I went through the STEPS program, and then I went into advanced program, And I also, on my own, started reading all these books and say, hey, Matt, did you see this one? And he'd go, no, but have you seen this one? And I would start reading and educating. When I was probably year 2 with diagnosed of BPD, I went and bought the book, Stop Walking on Eggshells, and I gave it to every single family member in my household so that they could also understand me. I'm not just this foreign object, and so that they could interact with me and I could interact with them. We can kind of be closer on the same page. Don't get me wrong, some of them looked at me like I was definitely crazy. It wasn't me who had issues, it wasn't them, it was me. But some of my family members really appreciated the time and effort that was put into that. Now, let me say this. Things started improving when I started to trust my therapist. It took me 2.5 years, 2 years before I truly started soaking in what he was saying. Otherwise, it was, well, yeah, I'm doing that. Oh, yeah, I did that last week. Oh, no, well, I didn't do it like that, but I did it like this. It was always still deflecting, and it was about 2 years, it was like, oh. I see what you're saying. Okay, no, I didn't quite do it like that. I'll try it again. And chances were, it worked. That's why he's getting paid to do what he's doing. I'm practicing mindfulness. That was spoken on quite a bit this morning. That was huge for me. Being in the moment, because I used to think all black or white terms. It's all or nothing. It is now or never. And so learning that there's a gray area definitely has helped me. Learning self-compassion and self-care. That one I still struggle with, I'm not going to lie. I think it's difficult for most people, but it's doing, setting limits. I still want to wear myself kind of thin and save the world. I want to hug everybody and tell them it's going to be okay, even though I know I should be at home writing a term paper for my psychology class. So I'm like, it's okay, I'll get to it later because I'm saving this person now. Yeah, struggling with that one a little bit. Also, things started to improve with me when I started sharing with others. That was huge because up until then I had worn my mask. Everyone looked at me as this outgoing, bubbly person who was friends with everyone and every group and genre, I have to say genre. And I always went home and would cry my eyes out that I didn't fit in anywhere. And it took someone else to point out to me that that was a gift. Because you can interact with so many people at any given time. And I literally have done this back in my more self-destructive days. I was hanging out with a rather rough crowd, and I went through from a tattoo convention one night to a big CEO, cocktail dinner party the next night. And the person is in the he's in the mental health world said, that's a gift. How many people do you know can switch back and forth in that short of time? And it was the first time I was like, oh. Otherwise I always thought I was just a misfit, or that there must be something really wrong with me. How come I don't have friends? I also want to say that when I started to learn to communicate effectively, that has truly changed my life. Instead of making assumptions in my head or thinking through all of these schemas and filters, realizing like, oh, maybe that look doesn't mean that, because I did think in those terms. So with that out of the way, I want to read something to you guys that I wrote a couple months ago, and actually, take it back, it was a couple years ago. I put this on Facebook, and I put it out there for the world to see. And this is probably another really big turning point for me and my process, if you guys didn't mind to hear it. Okay, I'm going to take some parts about it, but here we go. At the time, I titled my post, Brave Vulnerable Babbles, warning I just babbled a novel. Time does heal, especially when you choose to work at it. Even if it is in baby steps, it is still working at it. The next part I'm about to share, and remember, I shared this to like everyone, okay? I am not sure how many people know, but I'm going to be brave and talk about it anyways. I think of all the times I tried to stop living, especially during the years of 2005 through 2008, There were many, and many close calls. And after each hospital stay, and after many, years of painful yet rewarding therapy sessions, I am learning to replace unhealthy behaviors for beautiful ones. I say learning because I know I will always be a work in progress. I have fought depression as far back as being 7 years old, sitting by a tree on the playground by myself, just hoping and longing for someone to notice, because maybe someone would ask me what was wrong. No one did. And that is when I realized I can hide this loneliness by taking care of others. I learned to wear my mask well so that I can fit in. Then after many tragic events in my small slice of the universe over the course of my life, like most would have, I started to break. Things caught up with me. In 2006, I was 32 years old, when I was properly diagnosed, and it was scary. I felt alone and was afraid to share, afraid of judgments, especially because by this point of my life, everyone had known me as the bubbly girl who was a successful manager for a few high-end companies. They knew I would get sad and maybe self-destructive every now and then, but somehow always pulled through. That was then, this is now. I now accept that I will always have my diagnoses. Yes, diagnoses in the mental health world. At the end of the day, it's all about how I choose to manage them. They do not need to define me as a person. I can only remember that 24/7. I am Erin. The good, the bad, and the ugly make me up as a whole. That's what is real. And this mental health stuff is only a sliver of what makes me who I am. I have people tell me all the time how confident I seem. This is so interesting to me because one of the biggest filters I have dealt with